So today's video is near and dear to my heart. I felt compelled to share a bit of my story going through the dating process after going through a divorce because it's a it's hard. And today's video is about letting go of your checklist and being able to trust yourself. And we are focusing on relationships in this video, but really, we have so many checklists in our life about, what our lives are supposed to look like, who we're supposed to date, what kind of car we're supposed to drive, what kind of job we're supposed to have. But really, it doesn't matter. What matters is, does this thing or person give you joy? Do you feel like this person is aligned with who you want to be and where you want to go? It has nothing to do with what level in society are you, or are you following the strict process that we've learned about what life is supposed to look like. So growing up, I strived for perfection in everything, especially when it came to relationships, because I had an intense fear of failure and loss of control because I felt this lack of connection with one of my parents and feeling not good enough and comparing myself to my siblings. I just put all this pressure on myself to be perfect. And this transcended into my relationships, where I really cared what other people thought. And I wanted my relationships in my life to look a certain way and be part of this checklist. And everything had to be checked off in order for it to be good. And I would overanalyze all of my actions and behaviors really until my brain would implode. So giving myself so much anxiety, and no matter how good a situation was or a relationship was, I would constantly make up problems or things to worry about of what was going wrong. So in terms of relationships, finding the perfect person was the most important thing for me when it came to relationships. So I wasn't going to settle for anything less. I had a checklist, and that person had to meet it. And if there was anything that was off, I would get anxiety. And this progressed within my previous relationships, especially within my marriage, and having someone that checked off every box yet didn't check off the important things like, do they align with me? Do they make me happy? All of the things that I just mentioned. But they did check off, are they good looking? Do they have a good job? Are they good with their family? Are they secure and have a stable looking future? Really, all of these things are very superficial, but something that myself and many people look for when they're looking for the right partner. So going through the process of a marriage and divorce, this was heightened in me to the nth degree, because now I had this feeling of never wanting to end up in another failed relationship, and I didn't want to be alone for the rest of my life. So I really had this intense fear and this intense anxiety where I would put up this protective armor to prevent any pain, to protect myself against any pain, therefore not really allowing me to fully connect with someone or, be a part of their lives, because I'd constantly be on high alert for anything that was going wrong. And so I'd keep all of my suitors at arm's length because I couldn't trust myself enough to make the right decision when it came to love. Because clearly, in my past, I screwed up. And so I'd cut my losses off early because I didn't want to get hurt because it would end anyways. So failure really wasn't an option for me because, one, I had already gotten divorced. And number two, I already consistently felt like I wasn't enough for most of my life. So failing again in another relationship was life or death for me. And so the other thing that I didn't want to lose was my intense freedom that I had found after my divorce. I had built so much strength and so much self-love after going through that divorce and developing my relationship with myself. I just didn't want to lose that again. But the thing that I realized is that the one piece of the self-love pie that I was missing was that I fully needed to embrace trusting myself and letting go. Because good relationships call on us to do the work. They really challenge us to question our beliefs and take us out of our comfort zones. And that's what leads to growth. So it allows us to see our imperfections and puts a spotlight on them and allows us to see those and also appreciate those imperfections in other people, because we realize we're all not perfect. There is no perfect person. And so I really had to change what I expected out of relationships, what I deserved, what I wanted, and what I truly needed. Not this ideal, but what I truly needed. So relationships are really scary because they ask us to trust in ourselves and the uncertainty, because we don't know if this is going to work out. I mean, we can put our best foot forward and we can put up our boundaries and we can, have a loving and healthy relationship. But unfortunately, we can't control life. We don't know how it's going to end up. We can't control, you know, whether or not our hearts get broken. I mean, we can try really hard, but in the end, it's up to the universe to really direct that. So without risk, we would never be able to experience deep love, joy, or connection. And we'd never experience what it means to come together and create and experience life, a life of fun, a life of adventure with a partner who cares and supports you. So being afraid and actually stopping yourself from taking risks is not really allowing you to let go and get into a relationship that actually makes you do the work, that actually calls upon your insecurities. Because even if the relationship doesn't work, you have allowed yourself to let down your guard and experience this relationship fully. Being able to, look within yourself, make those changes, and really be able to embrace who you are and the relationship as it is. So there's a few things that you can look out for when you're going through a new relationship and you're really unsure. But a way to stay grounded is a few of these things. So it's becoming aware of your inner critic. Now, we all have this inner critic that is just jabbing away in our brains about how, awful we are and how we're not good enough and all of this stuff. And usually this really hits hard when you get into a new relationship. Why? Well, that is because fear is ingrained in us from the, caveman era, where we were running away from saber-toothed tigers and fighting off enemies for food. But our body doesn't actually realize that we're no longer doing that. So any type of fear that is unlocked within us, that comes over us, our reactions to this is the same as if we were getting attacked or if we were fighting off enemies. And so it's really actually your body's trying to protect you, and it wants to keep you in your comfort zone. because we are all about wanting to be safe. We are all about wanting to be protected. So really, it's a learned behavior that you can unlearn. You just have to be able to know how to talk to yourself and know how to respond when your triggers when your triggers come up. So really being able to be aware of those and question them and understand why you have this is a great way to, one, become self-aware, but also to really dissect how you're feeling in that relationship and what's real and what's not. The other thing is, I think is really, really important, and to be quite honest, I wish I actually said this one first, but it's going into the relationship with intention. Because if you go into a relationship without intention and it's all willy-nilly, you don't really have a direction of where you want this relationship to go. And technically, your partner or the person you're dating doesn't know where that's going either. So let's say you have someone who is unsure if they want a relationship. They're kind of like, whatever. And you're like, yeah, I want a relationship, but I'm not, but I know this person doesn't want this relationship, and you're not grounded in where you want to go. It is very hard for that relationship to go anywhere because no one knows what direction they're going. So an intention allows you to have a direction, not only you to have a direction, but also the person that's going on that relationship journey with you to also follow in that direction. And if they do not want to follow you and they want to get off that path, let them. Because if you have the intention of having a healthy relationship and that is your goal and that's your vision and that's where you want to go, you will find someone that wants to walk that walk with you. And if they're not willing to do it, that's not your person. And so an intention is also how do you want to show up in this relationship? What are the feelings you want to feel? What do you want to give to this relationship? And really knowing exactly what you want and what you're looking for is going to be way, way better for you than trying to figure out, on the first date, did I have a sexual attraction to them, or did I have chemistry? Because having a relationship is so much more than just that, more than chemistry and compatibility. It's really about, are you going in the same direction? Do you have similar values? Do you want to share a meaningful relationship experience together? So really being able to set that intention and stick to it and realize that this experience is new and it's a new person, which means it's being open to new experiences and growing with that person and growing together. Because when you begin any date, setting an intention of being open, learning enables you to take more risk. And it enables you to stay in the present, stay grounded, and find joy in that moment. Because if you have the intention of growing, learning, taking risks, and finding joy, the task of dating and finding a partner is going to be so much more enjoyable for you when you have an intention of it being joyful, when you have an intention of learning, when you have an intention of growth. That, to me, is more appealing than going in with a negative attitude, with no direction or intention, and really unsure of what you want. I think the first one sounds a lot better, don't you? So intention in relationships is super, super important. So I did mention about being self-aware. So one of the other aspects of trusting yourself in relationships is check in with yourself often. How are you feeling? How do you feel about this person? How do you feel when you're with this person? What are the feelings that are coming up? Listen to your body, because that is one thing that I learned in my previous relationships and marriage/divorce, is that I was so disconnected from my body. I didn't want to feel my feelings. I was scared to feel them because I knew the answer would be, you need to leave this person. This is not the right relationship with you. But I was so determined to be happy and to have a relationship, to have a marriage, and to live that life. But if you don't have that connection to yourself, and if you don't have that, compassionate, loving relationship where you're able to listen and you're able to trust what you feel, you're never really going to be learning to have an authentic life, because you're going to be constantly fighting what you feel, which is going to cause you a whole hell of a lot of anxiety, a whole hell of a lot of worry, and your life is not going to be enjoyable. So really being open to observing yourself and your behaviors and be willing to change. And I'm not saying changing for a person as in like trying to be someone you're not. It is changing and being willing to be open and feeling things that you may not have wanted to feel previously, and connecting with yourself that way. So that way, you know yourself well enough to be like, okay, this person is giving me a little bit of a vibe, and it's just, I don't like it. And something is off. Like how they answered this question just didn't really vibe for me. That's fine. That is how you reacted. So honor that. And it also allows you to self-soothe yourself and be curious and start challenging that voice. So if you hear something within your body and you're like, that seems weird, that, or you're having a reaction to a situation with your date, let's say, or your partner, where your inner voice is saying, oh, well, you suck because you didn't know that, or that you were stupid in this situation, whatever it is, this critical voice. But start challenging what your brain is saying. And that's in addition to feeling what's true. So just going a bit off topic, but how you can feel that something is true for you is usually when you are still, when you are open, when you are listening, the truth feels calm. And if it's not calm and you have anxiety about it, it's usually something your brain is making up. But if you are truly honest with yourself and you're really able to hear what your body is saying, you're going to know. You're going to know the answer before you even ask. So being aware and open and allowing those answers to come to you and questioning them with your own truth is important in going through life and the dating process, because it allows you to be more of yourself and get what you need rather than trying to get what you're supposed to need. So in closing, I wanted to give my last tip of giving yourself a break. That's a deep breath for me, because I feel like a lot of these checklists are all about trying to meet this mark, trying to be someone we're not, trying to fit into a box that we think is right. When if you go into a situation, if you go into your life and walk through it with being open and being able to feel and being able to really experience it at face value, and knowing that life isn't perfect, no relationship is perfect, and no one is, judging you, no one really cares what you're doing. Really, the only thing you have to worry about is, are you happy? Does this life give you joy? Does this relationship give you joy? And if you can answer those questions wholeheartedly with a hell yes, with obviously there's some things in relationships that, you know, you might have to work out, but for the most part, this person should be giving you joy. They should be, you know, supporting you in your hopes and dreams. They should be, you know, telling you when you're being a bitch and, you know, you're not being reasonable, and being real with you. And in the end, wanting to be able to live this adventure with you. But the only way that you are going to be able to find that quote unquote imperfect person is knowing yourself. So take the time and understand what you need in relationships, what makes you light up, what gives you joy, and outside of relationships, what makes you so happy, what allows you to wake up in the morning with, you know, this big smile on your face. Knowing yourself is going to make making decisions not only in your relationships better, but in your life much easier. So I hope this video, I think it might be a little bit long, but this was also very therapeutic for me. So I hope that you guys got something from this. Feel free to comment below. Would love to hear from you. And that's a wrap. See you in the next video.